First of all, I wanted to thank you for the invitation to participate in this meeting, a meeting I consider very important because of the determinant character anti-imperialist, and because the document advocates for the central objective of socialism. I also wish to express my acknowledgement for your generosity, allowing me to express some of my opinions about the analysis and themes central to the document. There is no doubt significant question of tactics and strategic for the progressive changes as well as for radical or revolutionary changes that are directly connected to the geopolitical context. That is, question that the force correlations at global world level, which are the fundamental, but also for the regional, this question of geopolitics is very important. That we have, on the one part, certainly, the very strong still imperialist powers, although they are not so strong, so dominant, and so hegemonic as they were before. And particularly that of the United States is not so strong, it's declining, but still they are very strong, at least for Latin America, is terrible. And this imperialism is not the only one. We cannot forget that after the Second World War, the imperialist poles, although they had contradictions, they are acting since then, and particularly in the second half of the last century and the beginning of this century, they are acting fundamentally understanding each other in alliances, oppressive alliances. The actual phase, the present phase of the imperialist development in which we are still, keeps the countries of the third world, at least that's the case of Latin America, with certain characteristics which can be identified also in imperialism as it is more today. So there is a couple of characteristics which we find in the first phases of imperialism, but still we find it in the phase we are today. And one of these is a characteristic identified by our foundational Marxist, Latin American Marxism, which was created, let's say, the origins during the decade of the 20s and the beginning of the 30s of the last century. Those very intelligent and militant Marxists of that period in Latin America identify that the alliance between imperialism, like the United States, and the national traditional oligarchies, dominance in our lands, they make an alliance for exploitation because they need each other. So imperialism needs absolutely these classes in the national countries of the third world submittance, and so is the case in Latin America. So imperialism needs these classes in order to function and operate effectively. And those classes, of course, get benefits also from this kind of alliance. In our present moment, solidarity, at least that's the case of Latin America and the Caribbean, solidarity among the different countries in our continent is essential for that different processes in the sense of progressive changes and revolutionary changes can really take place. That's what we call solidarity of la patria grande. I also, and also, I think very strongly that another thesis of the group of foundational, one thesis is that our Marxism is absolutely necessary, the alliance between the endeavors, the social classes struggle, and the links with national liberation struggle, within the need of both in today's world and it was before, and we cannot think of making the changes only on the basis of the social struggle, but also the national liberation struggle. So both dimensions has to work together. It is also clear that in the last time, new poles of power, which are not imperialist, have emerged and have become stronger every time. Therefore, we find also new regional poles. We are also important. In both cases, the regional and the world, which the world are the most important. In both cases, they have become a world reality, and it has a very important meaning in a positive sense for the emerging and maintenance of struggle against imperialism and for socialism, and even for reform that imperialism in our continent do not tolerate. And so that's the truth. It is clear that these poles of power, the new ones, which are not imperialist, are very important. They constitute poles that create positive conditions for our endeavors for socialism and in general for important changes in favor of social justice, freedom, and so forth. I also think that in our document, the idea and the dimension of emancipation should be central. So as it was in the conception, revolutionary conception of Marx and Engels, and maybe it might be convenient that this feeling of emancipation to sort of, which sort of find it to along the document, although the word is maybe not mentioned. In the perspective of the relationship between different countries and nations, this vision of emancipation, I think, should put emphasis in the right of the people and the right for equality and the right of equality of nations. And therefore, it is very important that this idea should be translated, let's say the word translated in this case, in the international relation, and at the same time in the geopolitical interconnection and changes that are also taking place. And so in this condition, I think we should also fight and make efforts for multilateral relationships. Therefore, multilateralism means should be more underlined in the document, and is more coherent with the perspective of emancipation in a wide sense, integrality, not only economic. And in that view, the right of the people, the right of the nation, of all nations at equal levels, I think is essential. Maybe It's not changing, but maybe stressing, adding, I don't know, maybe. Okay, thank you so much.